Everyone, thanks for joining Exalt Ministries. Today I got a little guitar tip for you. This is 4 strum patterns that you'll probably ever need for worship. 3 of them are 4/4 timing or standard, and then we have a 4th one and a 3/4 timing. 2 of them are full measure, 2 of them are half measure. You'll see more of that when we get more into the strum patterns here. But without ado, I'm going to do the first 3 strum patterns in one song since they're all in a 4/4 timing. And then I'm going to do the 4th pattern in its own song since it's a 3/4 timing. So I'm going to use Trading My Sorrows as an example. And I'll just put up here which strum patterns I'm using. And then we'll kind of just go through it, then we'll go back. We'll go into more detail about how they actually play out, how to strum it, how to interpret the number pattern, if you don't know how to interpret a number pattern. I also have a video for that right here that you can watch that'll tell you the difference between a numbered and a down-up strum pattern, how to convert between the two, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get on to this. So I'm going to do Trading My Sorrows. I'm trying to think if I'm doing this right. There we go. I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. Okay, now let's do a different strum pattern. Let's go to the next one. This one's kind of hard for me because it's not meant for this song. But let's do it without singing because I'll be able to concentrate on the pattern. Sweet. So it's a little different one. That one I can actually do a better job doing You Are My King. But there's another version of that. So let's go to this 3rd strum pattern. We'll go back to Trading My Sorrows real quick. This is going to be a half measure strum pattern. So the strum pattern is going to repeat twice as much in the same amount of time. So let's do this again. Let's see. Alright, there we go. Ready? I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord, for the joy of the Lord. So there's that one there. Now I've done the 4/4s, the 4/4 timing. So let's look at that 1/3/4 timing that I have on here. The 3/4 timing is going to work great. Good Father is done by that. You also have Call It Grace by Unspoken. We also have I Still Believe by Jeremy Camp. And actually I'm going to use the I Still Believe by Jeremy Camp as the example for this. This strum pattern is very simple. For Jeremy Camp, it's going to sound like this. It's a very nice, low, kind of majestic strum pattern. Call It Grace is there's nothing less than scandalous, this love that took. So it's kind of like that. I don't know the chords right off the top of my head for it, but it goes along that way. So now you've seen all 4 of them, and it's a close example. So let's go back to the first one real quick, and let's look how that's put together. Let's put up here real quick. Since it is a full measure, we're going to divide the measure in half and practice it by halves. Now, the way to practice a strum pattern, the best way to do it is to practice it muted. What I mean by muted is you take your fingers and you just kind of let them hang on your fretboard, Let them touching the strings, not pressing down, just kind of letting them sit nice and relaxed-ish on there. So you just hear this. Not this. Or this. You want it nice and muted. And the reason why is when it's muted, you can hear your down strums and your up strums much more clearly if I was playing a chord. Because the chord then would carry over between strums and you might have a hard time deciphering it. So the first one let's look at is going to be, and we're going to do this just like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So get your elbow on a hinge real quick, and just if you don't want to, if you use a pick or if you use your fingers, that's fine. But get your arm on that down on that hinge, because that way you can have your timing a lot better. Because if you're doing this, you might screw up your timing, because this right here is a little easier to control timing wise than this, unless you're really good at doing solos. So let's just start off with just 1. Just start off with down strums. 1, 2, 3. Same way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you had your up strums, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's divide that first one up. So the first one we have 1. Skip the 2, 3, 4 and. So you have 1. You have 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 and. That's your first part of it. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. Okay? Now let's look at the last part. The last part, we skip the 1, we skip the 2, but we do the ands between them, and then we hit the 3 and the 4. It's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. And then when we get all together, it's just like this. So then we put a chord to it. Let's see. Now I'm going to get... This is hard because I'm used to do it. So I'm used to doing it a lot faster. Let's see if I... 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 3, 4, and. Now I usually do it a lot faster, so that's why it's kind of hard for me to go from this to going like this because of my timing. But if I speed it up, it's going to sound like this. So that's going to be the first strum pattern. That's the most common one I use. 80 to 90% of my songs can use that strum pattern. It's a really nice part about it. Thank you to Hillsong for kind of putting that together, and I've just kind of put a little modification on it. So let's go to the second one real quick. The second one is usually more or less for faster songs, though it can be used for slower songs. A slower song that I do this is from Breathe, it's by Michael W. Smith. It goes... So it works great from like a melodic, or if you want faster. It can work for either way, for slow or fast. Does not matter which. So let's break it up real quick. Remember, we're going to practice this one muted, so let's break it up to the first 4 count. Your first 4 count is 1, skip 2, and skip 3, and 4. If you look at this, if you write the whole strum pattern down, if you look at this, it looks exactly the same almost as a 3/4 strum pattern. The only difference is you're adding the 2 extra beats on the end. So it's kind of like the 4th pattern, made into a 4/4 with just another add a couple notes if you look at it that way in the dynamics. But let's look at the second one here. So we have 1, 2, so we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1. Alright, so that's going to be your first part. So you have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Alright. Next 4 part of the strum pattern is going to be skip 1 and skip 2 and 3, 4 and. It's actually the exact same as the last one we just did, the exact same 4 part. You'll notice that with a lot of strum patterns I use this part at the end, though the first part may be different. So we have a 1, so we have 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. So you go 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Yeah, 3, 4 and. There we go. So let's see how it sounds. I do a little faster, but we go. So that's going to be second strum pattern. Let's look at the third one. Third one is going to be a half measure, meaning it's going to repeat twice as many times in the same amount of time it took for the first and second strum pattern to go. Alright, so this one here is going to be a little easier to use because we won't have 2 parts to look at. We're just going to have 1 part. So this one, if we do it just muted, you're going to have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So it's 1, 2, and, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. And we can put a little bit of chords to it. So that's going to be that strum pattern. There's not really a whole lot to that one because we don't have 2 parts to look at, just 1 part to look at. So let's move on to the fourth one. Fourth one's a 3/4, so it's going to be a little shorter of a strum pattern. And it's also a half measure, so it's only going to be half as long as the first 2. So we have here, this is one that's used, like I said, for like the Jeremy Camp, scattered words, okay? Or you have like good father, you're a good father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. Okay, things like that. Call it grace. But let's look at the strum pattern real quick. It's a half measure, and this time we only have 3 counts per half measure, not 4. Okay, it's very important. So we have 1 and, so we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. No 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So remember, 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 1, 1. Okay. So as I said, let's try to put this into a chord. Let's try a key of D. So that's going to be the major 4 strum patterns you'll use for just about any worship song that you come to. Out of the 100 and some tutorials now that I have out, I have probably used one of these 4 strum patterns for at least 90 songs out of that 108. Because most of the strum patterns, I have 22 that I have now, which you could go and visit this link, this one, and this one, and those are going to give you all 4 that I have currently right now. So that's going to be 22 strum patterns, but just these 4 alone will give you a really good arsenal of just 4 patterns you can switch between. Then no one's been like, dude, can you switch up your strum pattern? I've heard of every single song this month. Then you'll say, yeah, I know 2 others for your 4/4, 1 for your 3/4. Now you can develop more if you want. That's fine. That's great. That's what you're supposed to do with these. But anyways, I'll leave you with that 4 strum patterns you'll ever need for any worship song. You guys have a great day, and God bless.